Vijaya Kannan, the former CEO at Indian Banks Association, joining us on the show right now. Mr. Kannan, morning. Thanks so much for taking the time out. Just going by the market reaction this morning, Mr. Kannan, BOB down almost 10% on the stock price. I know you may not be tracking the stock prices very closely, but even, the brokerages, all the skeptics and critics believe that what this is going to do, while there is no taking away from the fact that this is going to create the third largest bank in the country, consolidation is the way, this was much in the pipeline, finally taking shape. But what it does, it pegs back the turnaround for BOB by another 1 quarter, 2 quarters, or who knows how longer. What would you have to say to the critics?
I would say, don't look at this only with from the BOB's angle. Look at this from the system. I think BOB, Dena Bank and Vijaya Bank in total will benefit overall. Yes, in the short run, BOB shares will get hit a bit, mainly because of the swap ratio, which will actually benefit the Dena Bank, which is the weakest. Any swaps between two entities, one of them very strong, another one is fairly weak, will always benefit the weaker banks, and that is expected, and that's where the share prices would look for. And this is only for the purpose of the conversion. But I think in due course, I think the performance of the three banks, the merged entity, will be very good. And BOB has got a strong international presence. They are also pretty good in the technology front. Vijaya Bank does not have much NPAs, and also has got excellent presence in the south. Dena Bank has its own strength by way of CASA, but has its own major problems regarding the NPAs. I think merger of these three banks, and one of the most important criteria has been the platform. I think overall we'll have to look at the long-term positive, and short run there could be a movement inversely, in the sense Dena Bank's prices have shot up and BOB prices have come down. But in the long run, I think all the three shares are all the three merged entity will actually do very well.
In fact, we have Lalitabh Shrivastawa from Sharekhan as well joining in to give us the market perspective. Lalitabh, would you agree with Mr. Kannan when he says that, there was bound to be weakness on BOB because of what the swap ratio would do, and it would definitely favor the weaker banks, and this is at best just a very short-term phenomena that you're seeing play out in the stock prices?
Yeah, hi, good morning. I would say that swap ratio will be an important parameter which we do not know as of now. So as of now, just going by the overall metrics and overall the structure of the entity that is looking to come out, I believe we are going to see a slight impact on both Vijaya Bank and BOB. Even though surprisingly Vijaya Bank is holding up, but in the near term there will be some negative overhang. But I think there are positives also to be gained out of that, which has to be seen on the longer term.
What are the positives according to you?
Hello?
No, when you say positives, Lalitabh, they need to be seen. So according to you, Lalitabh, what are the positives?
First of all, it could have been much worse when you are getting just one bad bank. But here, with the addition of Vijaya Bank, sweetens the deal, so as to say. Secondly, I believe the branch network that the combined entity will be having will add somewhere around like 70–80% to the existing BOB network. There will be some overlap, and there will be some increasing geographical diversification. I do not see a near-term synergies in terms of rationalization of branches, but we all know that there is a huge chunk of workforce that is due to retire in couple of years for PSU banks, and that can allow them a lot of headway, a lot of leeway to do branch rationalization and cost synergies. But at the same time, immediately you are going to get a significant addition in your branch network. If you compare the branch business per branch of BOB vis-a-vis some of the other, just a second please. So BOB as well as vis-a-vis Vijaya Bank and Dena Bank, you would notice that there is a lot of catch up that the smaller banks can do, and with a larger bank with BOB in saddle, utilization of branches can also be an important thing. On the overall asset quality side, because that will be something very keenly looked at. The merged entity does not look very significantly worse off from the current BOB standing, mainly helped by the addition of Vijaya Bank in the pack. That said, once the merger and integration happens, we can see near-term volatility on operational parameters.
Okay, Mr. Kannan, Dena Bank was a weak bank, but there are a lot of other weak banks. If a precedent has been set by the government where they are looking at merging weak bank with strong banks, do you think other smaller PSU banks, they would also be merged with big banks? There are a lot of banks where the capital adequacy ratio is nearing 10% or it's below 10%. NPAs are above 10%. So some of those banks, do you think it's a matter of time, would be merged with the stronger ones?
See, I think Dena Bank is among the banks which has not been doing too well, and possibly amongst the oldest of the PCA banks. And the normal turnaround would have been about 2 to 3 years, and maybe the feeling was that merging would be a better way of resolving this. It's not necessary that all the banks, weaker banks, will automatically get merged and that the process will continue. It will all depend on how this particular merger pans out, and I'm quite positive that this is something which will be major success. And second thing is, in case the other banks are in a position to turn around on their own due to improved performance, better credit quality, and also lower cost, etc. I think if they come out of the PCA, the merger itself may not be necessary. And if at all it will happen, it will probably happen with slightly stronger balance sheets than what they are currently. So which may also be augur well. Even in the past, we have been generally telling, at least I have been articulating, that India does not need 20 similar banks. We need about 4 to 5 very large banks, globally sized banks, which can take large exposures, which can take bigger decisions, have international exposures, and the other banks can be doing the retail activity and SME activity, which happens in most of the countries. So in many countries like Australia itself, you have only not more than 3 to 4 big banks, and the others are all more of retail and regional banks. I think that will be the way forward, and this is also part of the reforms agenda which the government has been articulating, and I think this is the first step forward.
That's the point, right? Because most banks other than Indian Bank are weaker now. So what happens in the next wave of consolidation or a big bank merger, if indeed it is to take place in the short term?
This is to me. As I mentioned, I don't expect
Mr. Kannan, that question was for the other speaker, Lalitabh. Lalitabh, go ahead.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. I think consolidation is very much on the agenda of the government as well. But I don't see a very significant near-term development in this. I know this is your guess is as good as mine, or maybe better than that. But my sense is that we have already seen SBI merging with associate banks. We have already seen this BOB merger. I think the government will let both these entities to digest and properly integrate and get their acts forward before going for another big bang merger. As it is, most of the PSU banks, a lot of them, around 11 PSU banks would be under PCA framework, so they would qualify for the weak category banks. For the stronger category banks which could sweeten the deal, the choice is pretty limited also at this point of time, apart from one or two. So my sense is that we may take some time before we see similar developments coming up.
Which are the other banks where you think merger is the only way for them to revive and survive? Because government is not going to recapitalize them. I think it's evident now. They don't have the will, and B, they don't have the ability to recapitalize the weak banks. So Dena Bank and IBA Bank are two banks which we knew needed this kind of an consolidation. Which are the other ones on your which you can think of, Mr. Kannan, where I guess a consolidation is the only way forward for them?
I don't want to give any guess on this. I think we'll see how it pans out. But having said that, you will also agree that the worst scenario on the NPA front, especially in the corporate sector, is completely over. And therefore, the way forward is a question of a little bit of reduction in costs and ensuring that the income is available. And surpluses should start flowing. And therefore, even if the resolutions also start taking place, even as they speak, resolutions are taking place, but albeit in a slightly slow fashion as compared to what we thought would be a speedier resolution. But as and when the resolution takes place, they will be in a position to write back many of the provisions. They also will be in a position to make profits from their existing operations. As you know, most of the banks are actually making decent operating profits, but because of the provisions, they have to declare losses. And going forward, if the provisions do not go up, I think many of the banks which are under the PCA will come out of the PCA maybe within 1 year, and some of them might take a slightly longer period. But I don't want to at this time have any guess on which are the banks which could be considered. One of the reasons which could be considered, if at all, would be the platforms, because a common platform would be easier way of a CBS platform would be easier way of merger rather than having two different platforms where you need to have a lot of APIs which have to be set up and a lot of complications which might happen.
Mr. Kannan, Lalita, both of you, thank you so much for giving us this perspective on the big bank merger and what really could be the next procedure that we could hear from the government. Good to chat with you as always.